I'm joined by Jeremiah Martinez, sports and recreation reporter with the today's news Herald in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Me and Jeremiah will be talking about how Arizona is allowing their winter sports to be played. Jeremiah, first, can you just talk a little bit about how the Arizona Interscholastic Association came to a decision to allow winter sports to be played in Arizona?
Yeah, so originally they canceled winter sports, but they filed a full vote by the executive board, thinking a couple of weeks ago. And 4 days later, they held a special meeting and they overturned their decision with a 5-4 vote. But between those 4 days, there was a lot of disappointment, a lot of backlash that a lot of from the coaches, athletes, and parents that they were canceling the season. Now the season's back on. It's actually supposed to happen this week. At the time of this recording, it is Monday, January 18th, which is technically the day that they're supposed to start. I don't start covering them until tomorrow. They're back on after they overturned that. They're back on after they canceled the.
What protocols did they put in place that teams have to follow in order to play?
Okay, so the big one that they have to follow is that all athletes, all coaches, and officials have to wear masks throughout the entire competition, and that includes the athletes playing in the game, the match, whatever sport they're playing. So they have to play with masks on. And winter sports here is basketball, soccer, and wrestling. So wrestlers have to wear masks while on the mat. Soccer has to play with masks on, and basketball has to play with masks on. So that's going to be the big one. I know a lot of it was really mixed. A lot of people were not happy about it. I know I did some reporting last week. I know some athletes did not like it. Some other athletes, they don't care as long as they get to play. Whereas a couple coaches, it's a mix with them too. They're worried about how it might affect their breathing. Some coaches don't know how it will affect their breathing. It's a lot.
Okay.
So that is the big one. And then the next two are a little more smaller, but they do have to be followed. So each school has to complete a AIA COVID-19 athlete or coach monitoring form. So this has to be completed on the day of the contest, and the opposing school has to provide a copy prior to whatever contest is taking place. And the AIA wasn't going to allow anybody to come to the games, but they are going to allow up to 2 parents or legal guardians to watch at the home games. So yeah, their stands won't be fully empty, but they won't be full either. So at least athletes get to have their parents watch them. And if none of these guidelines, none of these are followed, schools that don't follow any of these protocols, they will lose access to AIA officiating, which is huge. So basically, they're not playing. They don't follow.
I know Arizona did play football in the fall. How did that go as far as, people following guidelines? And as far as, I know you mentioned it a little bit more, but just as far as, coaches and athletes and parents, how have they, reacted to all these guidelines being put in place? Is it just that they're happy that their kids are going to get to play?
Yeah, they're happy that they're playing. Like I said earlier, from that time period when sports were canceled to when they were reinstated, that 4-day period, there's a lot of, what's the right word for this? Despair, is that the right word? I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm trying to look for a synonym for sad. There was a lot of distraught. There you go. That's probably a better word. There's a lot of distraught throughout that time period. I remember when I was talking to some athletes from last week here in Lake Havasu, there was a lot of disappointment. I remember a coach told me that different kids were defeated. They were upset. A couple of athletes told me that, they were devastated. They cried because, they were just thinking about all the memories that they made for the past 3 years. They're happy that they're playing. They played football, but, it wasn't completely clean. From watching professional sports this year, a lot of modifications had to be made. So, fortunately for Lake Havasu, their season for football was not interrupted at all. As the varsity's football season was not interrupted. They played all 7 games that were on the schedule, and nothing happened during the week leading up to their playing game for 4A. So I remember there was some teams that had some COVID issues. I know the big one that I remember was Glendale High, who played Lake Havasu actually in week 1. They were in the play-in round for 4A, I think, and they missed their previous 2 games leading up to the play-in game. I think that's what happened. But no, they were in a 2-week quarantine, and their quarantine period was actually going to end the Saturday after their scheduled playing game. But Glendale never actually played because it was scheduled on the Friday, and their quarantine period was not ending. So there was a lot of kids that are on that team saying, asking the AI to push back that game. They never did. So that's probably the biggest thing that I remember as far as football. But there were teams that did not play some games due to COVID. So it wasn't the most perfect season. That's pretty much all I can say as far as football goes, because it was so long ago, man.
Yeah. Well, Jeremiah, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man over there in Arizona. If people want to read a little bit more about, AIA's decision to reinstate winter sports, where can they read the article that you wrote last week?
Well, the Today's News Herald website is havasunews.com, and I will suggest to subscribe because a lot of our articles are behind a paywall. So I'm letting you guys know. Letting you guys know. Don't say, oh, it's behind a paywall. I already told you. Okay.
All right. Well, Jeremiah, I appreciate your time. Good luck over there in Arizona, and we'll talk to you soon.